Yes, the Ebola threat is real and now it is crossing international borders. The disease, which is said to liquefy internal organs, killing its victim within weeks of being infected. They say the Ebola victims bleed to death. Let's find out what countries around the world are doing as a countermeasure to stop this deadly virus from spreading in their part of the world.
This is an isolation ward in Guinea. The patients here are fighting one of the deadliest forms of Ebola in the world. The disease has affected their immune system, their ability to clot, and invaded the other organs in their body. At this point, one must emphasize that out of 9 Ebola-infected patients, 8 die. The patients are not allowed to walk on the busy streets. Most of them are confined to bed in isolation wards of the hospitals. They even take special care to dispose the dead bodies as the virus is highly contagious. It just takes a small amount of virus anywhere on your skin to cause an infection. Every precaution can be considered less for the doctors who care for these patients. Doctors from around the world have now come to these highly affected areas to bring the epidemic under control. Wearing multiple pairs of gloves and masks, their head is completely covered. They also wear a multi-layer gown, boots and then an apron as a precautionary measure. The doctors say it is positively suffocating, but while treating Ebola patients, this is the only way to stay alive. They do this so that the people outside on the streets can breathe easy. Let us tell you what exactly the Ebola virus is. The Ebola virus is one of the deadliest viruses known to mankind. It's named after a small river in Democratic Republic of Congo where it first emerged. Up to 90% of infected individuals die from the virus. In many places of Africa, the people are known to eat bushmeat, and this is known as the source of all the problems. The African bat is considered a natural carrier of the infection. Gorillas, chimps, monkeys, antelopes, even porcupines are also susceptible to catching and spreading the disease. There are several places that are extremely vulnerable to this disease. With an incubation period of anywhere between 2 to 21 days, as per scientists, in the initial stages, the patient experiences flu-like symptoms. They also complain of a sore throat. In just a few days, the virus infects the entire body. The list of symptoms in this stage includes diarrhea, vomiting, weakness, fever, and then bleeding. The current outbreak is killing 9 out of 10 people. Despite the high mortality rate, if a victim is lucky to survive the disease, unfortunately, he or she can still be a carrier who can spread the disease for up to 7 weeks after recovery. Meanwhile, the main source of infection, bushmeat consumption, is still high in Africa. Here on the menu today is monkey and antelope. Despite the ban, bushmeat is being sold at every corner in remote places of Africa. Well, things in many places of Africa continue to be the same, but the world is now gearing up to contain the Ebola virus spreading to their part of the world. If Ebola travels from Africa to their country, they are prepared. Berlin's anti-Ebola fix.
A suspected case is now possible. Not very likely, but possible. And that it's going to be an outbreak like in Western Africa I don't see that, because we have the means, we have some structures. If it would start, we could contain this outbreak pretty fast. We need 2 hours to get started right here. We need all the nurses, all the doctors to come in. We need all the technicians. We have to prepare this unit here. And after 2 hours, usually the patient is here with an ambulance, and then we can bring into the room from outside. Inside, we are not walking through the hospital. We are going directly in front of the patient's room inside, and then we're gonna treat them here in these under pressure rooms in special gear. What we are facing, we are very much safe. The risk is, the only risk I see is like the first person having contact with them. We know there is a suspicion. We are really in our gear. We are in overpressure suits. I'm not afraid of us. The first contact person might be at some risk, but if there would be a case, this person will also be isolated. We're going to trace all the contacts and we're going to observe them. As soon as somebody gets sick, we're going to put him here in isolation too, and make sure, so this way we know it's not going to have an outbreak. So I'm not afraid of an outbreak in Germany. I don't want to say that it's not possible somebody arrives here with 1-2 casualties, but it's not going to be an outbreak like 1,000 people going to be dying.
While Berlin hasn't reported a single Ebola case, they seem to be all set for any possible Ebola outbreak. Berlin is not the only country that is getting ready for Ebola. Spain flew its first Ebola victim, and advanced care was taken so that no one, even the caretaker, gets affected. Spain is ready for Ebola. The suspected victim was carried in a special flight with no other passengers and immediately taken to a hospital in a special isolation van. With a convoy alert amid tight security, the victim was taken to the hospital for observation. London prepares post-Ebola outbreak. This is the isolation chamber in London's Royal Free Hospital. This is where any confirmed Ebola patients will be brought for treatment if they come to London. There is a special team dedicated to take care of the patients and, well, even isolating Ebola victims who may come to London. It is an imitating array of equipment. This is the patient isolator, where the patient will be homed. It is completely isolated from the surroundings, and the air coming in or out is filtered to avoid any possible contamination. The healthcare workers have a specially designed suit which they can use without the fear of coming in direct touch of the Ebola patients. The British are prepared with a very well and greatly contained environment for the patients. There is no specific treatment for Ebola. For now, countries are just giving what is known as supportive treatment. Well, this includes keeping the patient hydrated and hoping that the infected body of the patient cures itself. But the chance of recovery is very bleak. The only possible treatment is now being experimented in America. There are reports that the 2 American patients who were flown back to America in a contained environment are now on the road to recovery.
Well, there is no known treatment for Ebola. They say if you are infected with the lethal virus, only God can save you. But now America is experimenting with a secret serum, a wonder drug that may be a possible cure for the deadly Ebola. The serum we are talking about has been successfully tested on animals. The 2 Americans who have been given the secret serum are now under observation. So what exactly is this mystery drug? In fact, How does tobacco play an important role in the cure? And why is America keeping the serum a closely guarded secret? Let's find out.
A magical cure for Ebola. Only America knows this secret. Dr. Kent Bartley and Nancy Wright-Ball are the first known humans to have received the serum, which may be the possible cure for Ebola. The serum, called ZMapp, is an experimental drug which has been previously tested only on monkeys. They both received the serum in Liberia before they were flown to Atlanta in a specially equipped plane. The serum contains antibodies that prevent the virus from entering into the other cells of the body.
Fortunately, by the time we use the serum, most of the virus is already inside the cells of the patient. And so we have to prevent new infection, but the old infection just has to run its course.
Let us now take you to the top secret laboratory where the serum is being prepared, the lab which may very well help in eradicating Ebola from the world. But you will be surprised to know the treatment starts with tobacco. The Kentucky Tobacco Research and Development Center has a cure which uses genetically engineered tobacco leaves to make this magical serum. They claim to be not blowing smoke when they say tobacco is the perfect plant for genetic engineering. You can see how the leaves absorb the fluids. It does the same with genetically engineered compounds like an inactive virus. The plant basically becomes a living Xerox machine, duplicating the code. Researchers say it is perfect for containing the Ebola virus. The compounds now grown here are being used to treat the 2 Ebola patients. Until now, the drug wasn't known to the public. It wasn't even supposed to be tested on humans till 2015. The antibodies work by binding to the virus or the infected cell.
This is a model that we made with our structural biology of the structure of this protein that's on the surface of the virus. It's green and white. Yellow is the antibody. And so this is the molecule the virus uses to attach to a human cell and drive itself in. The antibody will attach itself to it and do one of a couple things. One of the ones in the ZMapp cocktail alerts the immune system to the presence of an infection. The other 2 do exactly this. They bind to the base of this molecule and prevent it from working.
One reason why it takes time to make huge doses is the need to create the antibodies. After separating the antibodies with a multi-step process, the 3 desired antibodies are combined to create a special drug that's called ZMapp. Well, now it is too premature to say if ZMapp is the perfect answer for the Ebola scare. With America keeping the possible cure for itself, we need to wait and watch when it will be available on a large scale. But for now, India and the rest of the world have to be vigilant, containing Ebola before it can spread. A News9 report.